think you're live.
Yeah, I just don't like to talk because I have to mute it on my computer or it's like an overlapping thing. But hello, everyone. Just give me a second. I have to set everything up here. I don't like to talk because I have to mute it on my computer or it's like an overlapping thing. Okay, we're good to go. Hi, everybody. So thanks for joining me today. Today I have Kim Vopni with me, and we are going to get into some really juicy conversations. Some of the men in this group might need to earmuff it a little bit, but regardless, we're in the health and wellness industry. And so we're going to talk today about niching and just about running multiple businesses. So why don't we kick it off? Kim, you can introduce yourself. You can share a little bit about who you are and what you are known as, or your title, your professional title these days.
Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Kim Vopni, and I'm known as the Vagina Coach. And there's been an evolution to that, how I became known as that. So I'll kind of back up a little bit. But I have two businesses. I started my own business called Pelvienne Wellness. Pelvienne is the French word for female pelvis. And I started that business really not intending it to be a business. I used a pregnancy product, a pregnancy pelvic floor product, and I wanted more people to know about it. And I became a distributor for that product. And my intention was, I'm just going to sell it on the side, and I would carry on working in my full-time career job. And then things changed, and then I started to evolve into, all of a sudden I got laid off from my job, and I was in the mompreneur world, and trying to make a go of something that nobody was talking about. It was like crickets for a while. Social media certainly helped, but trying to find people who were comfortable talking about the word vagina, who were talking about pelvic health and women's health, was really a bit of a struggle. And anyway, I started selling that product, and that's kind of how that was the impetus for the business, I guess. And it wasn't really, I wouldn't really truly consider it a business until 2009. So in 2004, I technically started selling this. 2009, I was laid off from my job. I started now looking to see who else was talking about pelvic health, and not very many people were. But I linked up with two other women, and we formed a separate business called Bellies Inc. So around that same time, I was noticing the correlation between pelvic health and the abdominal wall with regards to pregnancy, which was really the population I was mainly working with. And I found two other women, Samantha and Julia, and we were talking about the same stuff. And I thought, oh my God, I found my people, let's do something. And so we started talking about strategies and what we were doing in our own separate businesses. And we created a product that was designed, or it is designed, to help women prepare for pregnancy and birth, and then also set them up for an optimal recovery. So we manufacture a support garment, and we couple that with core exercise that addresses the pelvic floor and the abdomen. So those are the two businesses. And again, I didn't want to start a business, really. I was going to sell this product and make a little bit of extra money on the side. Nor did I ever want to start two businesses. It wasn't my dream or my plan. It's just kind of evolved into that. Thankfully, the two businesses do cross-promote one another. We're talking to the same market. My individual business, I cover pregnancy, motherhood, and menopause. So it's a bit broader reach, I guess, but ultimately it's pelvic health and the abdominal wall. So that's I'm a personal trainer. I trained as a doula as well. And for many years, I was actually known as the fitness doula, because I was really mainly focusing on pregnant women. And as I aged and my friends aged, and I recognized I was in kind of a different circle, more people were coming to me after the fact. And that kind of then broadened the scope to motherhood, menopause, and beyond. And the Vagina Coach term came from last year. I was in Toronto speaking at the Mompreneur conference, and I'm in front of a room full of 350 women. And most of the people coming up and talking to us on stage were all some sort of a coach and helping with different aspects of entrepreneurship and business and what have you. And it was my time to come up and speak. And my talk was how optimizing your pelvic health can make you a better mompreneur. And I hadn't planned this. I just got up and I said, okay, so we all have, we have a marketing coach and we have this coach, and now we all have a vagina coach. And it just was kind of this like light bulb moment. And I said, that's what I do. That is what I preach, pelvic health through the life stages. And fitness doula was really great for when I worked exclusively with pregnant women, but the term doula didn't really apply on the long term, but vaginas do. That's what I talk to women about pelvic health. So that's kind of a long story about how the Vagina Coach came to be, but now it just makes everything very simple in terms of what I do and how I market and what I say. And it's the clarity that I think I've looked for a long time.
And so we have, that's such a great story. And I, in full disclosure, I helped Kim and Julia and Samantha with some of their like early days funnels, like back probably 3 years ago now.
Yeah.
Because I was married and I remember doing it. And so I'm very familiar with Belly's Inc. and the products and pelvic health. And I remember saying like, I have this, I have diastasis recti. Like I have this thing, I can stick my fingers through my abs. This is not good. And so I love that we're now like having this evolution. And I think it's really important to acknowledge that all personal brands go through an evolution, you know, and I'm so happy that you shared this story of like, when you first started, you didn't mean to, and you know, you had this thing that you sold and you were a fitness doula and now you're a vagina coach because you have evolved as a person. Obviously you've aged, and as your interests have evolved and your ideal clients have evolved. And I think that's a very normal thing that is not too often talked about, which is also why I tell people like, just go with whatever you've got right now, because it's going to change.
Yeah, totally. 100%. Yeah. And evolution is the best word. And again, it's all, I still learn, I don't know what I'm doing most days. I still make mistakes. I still need to perfect things. There's still things that I have yet to tackle. And it will be a constant evolution until the business is no more. And I think that's, early on, I've struggled with wanting things to be perfect, wanting to have that clarity that I thought that people told me I needed. And I wanted to be an expert in all these things. I wanted to have everything. I was an entrepreneur. I'm supposed to do everything by myself, and I'm going to do that. And I think that I had a lot of pressure. I put a lot of pressure on myself, and eventually we found you and we started outsourcing where we weren't good. And that's also part of the evolution, because we either decide that that's not where we're good and we get other people to help us, or we hire somebody to help us become better in our evolution. But it'll keep changing. And you just, as you say, you just do it, and that will ignite the evolution. If you sit and wait for the perfect time or for the perfect this, you're kind of halting. You're not letting it evolve. Yeah,
absolutely. And there's some comments from people on Facebook Live. So if you guys have, those of you watching live or even on the replay, if you have questions for Kim or you want to just like give her a thumbs up, you totally can. Tracy saying, love it. And Jackie saying, hi, Kim, great information here. Thanks for coming on and sharing. So for those of you watching live, if you have questions about Kim's evolution or how she balances both of her business or anything along those lines, I keep checking the Facebook Live comments. So we can definitely toggle back and forth. So I have a question for you. Now that you identify as the Vagina Coach, was there any pushback or insecurity or fear around, using the word vagina?
No, yes and no, I guess. I knew that it was going to touch a nerve in a lot of places, but at the end of the day, that's also kind of what I was hoping to do, because I have been talking about the taboo for many years, and I try to bring some light and some humor to it, and I've become known for certain things, but sometimes you got to hit a little bit harder. So I think, I've always I've taken a little bit softer, and I've tried to address all the different nuances in the heated world of women's health. But now it's kind of, not that I don't consider that, but it's just become clearer, I guess. The fear side of things, there still exists a little bit of that. I had a post that I shared on Instagram yesterday that was a very incredibly beautiful, stunning photo of a baby's head crowning. And of course there's a vagina. And the woman was basically, the woman who had posted it was talking about how it's not going to last very long because it'll be shut down on Instagram. It'll be shut down on Facebook. Let's see how long it's going to be on. And there was a lot of comments that went through on my feed anyway, and all the other people that were sharing it. I also noticed that I had a drop in followers immediately after I posted that. And this morning I did get the message saying it's been removed because it's considered unsuitable content. So part of why I want to just tell it like it is because we have to start normalizing conversations around what has historically been considered taboo, and things like a beautiful, empowering moment of a life being born is considered, it's shameful, not appropriate, not this. I was, in my early days, I was working with a PR firm trying to get some exposure for the product that I was using. And because I was going to be, and I wasn't allowed to use the word vagina, I was only allowed to say pelvic floor. And also other, mainstream media channels weren't going to, they didn't think it was appropriate because there may be children around listening. And that infuriates me. Hopefully our children know the word vagina. Like it's a part of the body and we have to talk about it and we have to start normalizing it. So I don't know if fear is the right word, just kind of, I want people to take notice. I want them to listen. That word captures people immediately, like what the heck? And then there are other times where I think, is it too far out or is it too, and I think about it more from on the professional side. Our professional is going to come in and say that I'm not qualified to be a vagina coach. And yeah, so I guess there's a little bit of fear there too, but whatever, I'm doing it, I'm owning it. It's what I do. It's what I'm passionate about, and people are listening. So my aim is to help. So that's what's happening.
What type of education do you have to do? Because I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, and literally I'm thinking, I'm like, vagina and pelvic floor are the same thing? No. So, right. So and that's me who's like kind of sort of educated. And so when you say vagina coach, do lay people automatically dismiss you as like a sex coach person? Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah. What type of education do you have to do to get people to understand the connection between pelvic floor health and being a vagina coach?
Yeah, so it's fairly new. So again, I've kind of been using that. I used it as a tagline for since about March when I made that presentation. And it's been in the last probably 4 or 5 months that I've changed titles on my Facebook, Instagram, all that kind of stuff. Actually, Facebook, no, because they won't allow me to. So it's still Pelvienne. But so far, nobody has lumped me into that category. But there have been some people, from various circles that have given me feedback saying, well, I didn't know that I need a vagina coach. Why would I need a vagina coach? So I think people still, and I need to do the education, and I'm actually revamping some of the messaging on my site. I came in using, and I still heavily use the term pelvic floor and pelvic health. And ultimately that's what I'm talking about. I'm addressing that rather than just a vagina. But the lay person thinks about it as their vagina, or they think about it as their bladder. Usually those are the two things that they might think about if things aren't working like they used to.
Right.
So, a bladder coach wasn't.
That's for like old, I think of like a senior citizen, like, like a granny, like I'm going to my bladder coach.
Yeah. So, so no, the pelvic floor and the vagina are two separate things. However, I globally talk about the pelvis and all that encompasses reproductive organs and muscles and what have you. But that just kind of, it's a term, it's out there. People think, ooh, like, who's talking about it? What is that going to be? And maybe some people's first instinct is to think sex, and that's okay. I'm not a sexual health educator, but I certainly talk about how having a healthy pelvic floor can affect your sex life. And then I call on other people who have more expertise in that realm. I know that there's another woman in Vancouver named Kim Vopni, who is a sexual health educator. And she is like, wow, you check her website out. If I think I'm out there, she is like way in an incredibly amazing way. She's very visual. She has amazing copy, and she owns what she's talking about. So I get sometimes people think that I'm her just because our names are very similar, Kim Vopni, Kim Anami, and pelvic health and vaginas and what have you. So, but so far I don't have everybody thinking that I'm a sexual health educator. Not yet.
Yeah. And I didn't mean necessarily a sexual health educator. I just meant like when most people hear the word vagina in terms of like a vagina coach, I would think like orgasms, not like even a sexual health educator, but like almost like a relationship coach maybe, or something along those lines.
Yeah.
But the one thing that you said that I really want to touch on, because I talk about this a lot and I love that you said this, is that the layperson, right? The layperson, I'm going to assume, doesn't even know that they have a pelvic floor, maybe. Yep. And they associate it as either their bladder or their vagina. And so it was a smart move from a marketing perspective, I think, at least, for you to call yourself a vagina coach, one, because it is shocking. And it catches people's attention and they're like, what's that? That would be the next logical question, would be like, what's that?
Yeah.
And it really speaks to where your ideal clients are at. So it speaks their language, right? Yeah. Versus using the words pelvic floor. And so one of the things that we teach all the time, it's like, you can't pitch, promote, market, and sell to people if they don't even know what you're talking about. It's not going to work.
Yeah. Yep. Totally. And I can't say that I put that much thought, like from a marketing perspective in there, but there was some strategy involved. And again, it's I've used the term pelvic floor. And for so many years, nobody knew what I was talking about. And even now I still get it. What's a pelvic floor? Most people now, like, it's starting to get out there enough that people are understanding. At least maybe it's because the people in my circles have all listened to me for too many years. But yes, it's true that it not everybody knows the terms that I use. Not everybody hears, even though I want to teach them the appropriate terms or the correct terms or whatever. It won't, like, if they see the word and they don't know what it is, then they're moving on. And vagina gets them to stop, but also it's something that I'm speaking to women. Women have vaginas. What's this vagina person talking about? And then they can explore and become educated and enlightened from there. But at least it gets them stopping.
Just side note, and something that's making me giggle in my head. How old are your kids?
13 and 10.
Are they boys or girls?
2 boys.
So when people ask your 13-year-old and 10-year-old, what does your mother do? What do they say?
Well, initially they used to say that she helps women have babies. So that's when they were a little bit younger.
Okay.
And now they say my mom helps women with their pelvic floors. And they know that term very well, but it was funny because my son, he was exploring Instagram. And so that was kind of like the first one we thought, okay, if we're going to let him do one thing, we'll do Instagram. And of course I'm following him. And then he said, Mom, could you change your name? Cause it's kind of embarrassing. And he said, can't you be like a boob coach or something? And I said, well, I don't coach women about their boobs. So, my kids I have pelvis paraphernalia around the house. I have vulva puppets. I have vulva jewelry. They know the terms, in their sexual health education at school. They were the ones, putting that's a uterus. It's called menstruation. And I was really proud about that, honestly. Like I even some of the parents were uncomfortable with some of the information being shared. And I was really proud that my kids, they know what it is, and they weren't ashamed, and they just owned it. And that's what I'm ultimately trying to do it's just, we have biceps, we have, chest, our pectoralis, we have all these things that everybody else we can talk about and label, especially in fitness. My gosh, we learn so much about the body and fitness, except the pelvic floor, which is so central to everything else in our body. So we need to just talk openly and honestly and normalize the conversations, really.
Yeah, absolutely. So Tracy, hold on, wait, there's so many good comments here. I want to just share them with you. Mira is saying, my own husband got so furious at me for allowing my 6-year-old son to flip through the human body anatomy book because there are adult private parts in it. Oh, we had a long conversation that night. And that's sort of why I asked, because if you have boys, you know, for them to be like, oh, what does your mom do? She's a vagina coach. Mm-hmm. And just like very matter of factly, you know, and I'm sure to like, maybe if, I don't know if this is true, I can just imagine like my son walking up to his hockey coach and, you know, oh yeah, no, she's a vagina coach.
Well, you know? I have three different, I have an email for Belly Zinc, I have an email for Pelvienne, and I have a personal email. And on the signature in my personal email still says Kim Vopni, vagina coach, author, speaker, blah, blah, blah. And you know, I email the teachers and all this kind of stuff. But again, like, yeah, it gets people stopping. It gets
100%. It's just something to like, I think, have a good giggle, because not because I feel embarrassed, but because I know that they would feel it. Like,
totally.
I'm not saying that the hockey coach would actually feel embarrassed, but it's just because it's still so faux pas, it like makes me giggle a little bit to see your sons walking around. You're like 10 and 13-year-olds being like, no, she's a vagina coach, actually.
Yeah.
You know? But like just in my head, the image of it makes me giggle. So Jackie's saying, curious about the pelvic floor health piece and the issue with diastasis recti issues, exercise repair resulting from hysterectomy. I have some injuries regarding how to improve this condition. Okay, so what I'm going to say about that, that's kind of like a personal question. And I'm sure that necessarily I would say I don't even feel comfortable having you answer that, because you obviously need way more information. Is there any like high level resources you can give to answer that question in terms of where to go to like learn about it or anything like that?
Yeah, the number one thing I'm saying all the time to women is go see a pelvic floor physiotherapist. So that's the number one thing that every single person with a vagina should do. Every person without a vagina should do it. It should be part of our standard of care, especially in women. And so that would be my first thing. They are the pelvic floor and the abdomen, diastasis recti, are absolutely 100% linked. And I'd be happy to talk to you more. But again, I certainly can't answer that question without a lot more information, but you can find me at vaginacoach.com or bellyzinc.com. You can follow me on Instagram, what have you, and I'll share tips and send me some private messages.
Awesome. Tracy saying, I'm relatively new to the pelvic health field and I'm finding the education so hard. People don't even know what People don't even know what they have and how the work can help, even doctors. So do you run workshops to educate? So maybe can you talk about how you got started in terms of just spreading the word around pelvic health?
Yeah, sure. So initially I started using this product. I wanted other people to know. I heard about it through my midwives. So my natural first plan of attack was to let midwives know that I had this and they could refer. So it was just kind of a word of mouth thing. I told friends. I didn't have a website when I first started it. Again, because it wasn't really supposed to be a business per se. Once it was going to become a business, I started, I was in the mompreneur world. I was using social media a lot, like who's talking about this and who else can I reach out to? I was finding any health practitioner that was mentioning anything about women's health. That's when I first started to collaborate with pelvic health physiotherapists. And then what happened after that is I said, okay, this is all well and good. I can go and talk to these professionals and then they might recommend a product to their patient. That's fine. But if I want to get out and reach more people, I should do a workshop. So because it was really, I was trying to get pregnant women. That was my main point at the time. I said, okay, I'm going to design a workshop and it's going to talk about pelvic health and pregnancy and diastasis and how we can minimize and what can we do, blah, 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 blah. So I put together this framework and this presentation, and that's where Prepare to Push came from. So Prepare to Push is now a book and an online program and in-person workshops. So that was the first platform that I used. I was teaching those workshops to pregnant women. So I would just market them to really just local practitioners and groups. And then after that, I also was I was foreshadowing a bit. So as much as I was focusing on the pregnancy side of things, I still recognize that there are women that need help down the road. And it's never too late to make a change. So, okay, so here's another way now where I could have a bigger platform where I could also start selling some other products. And I designed an event called Kegels and Cocktails. And that was meant to be again, pointing a little bit of like, most people know the term Kegels, even though I don't necessarily believe in Kegels 100% for every single person, but it's the word people know. So Kegels was right there front and center, and cocktails, meaning like, this isn't going to be a medical boring workshop in a clinic. We're going to come and have some fun, and it's going to be a great girls' night out. It's going to be in a funky space. And so that we're again, making the environment one that women want to come to, and they happen to learn some incredible information while they're there enjoying a cocktail with their friends or a little bit of shopping with the vendors. So it definitely was much more in person at the beginning, building relationships, and I like public speaking, so it was a natural place for me. And now it's really broadening to be online, and those workshops have come into more of an online presence as well. Still offered in person, but it's online, so we can reach more people.
Yeah, I definitely think when you're in a really, in a sub niche as you are in terms of talking about this very particular thing, although there's obviously so many, sort of offshoots of what you could actually talk about, it's really important to find other practitioners who have the demographic that aren't talking about that thing. So it was really good that you went to the midwives and the doulas. Like, they obviously have your ideal clients, but they don't have expertise or specialty in whatever it is that you're talking about.
Yeah. And that was something in both businesses we recognized pretty early on, is we can do, and we still do, our best to educate and make it clear what we're doing and who we're trying to attract. But still, it's, for many people, it's the first time they've heard of pelvic health, or it's maybe they're exploring it for the first time without it being attached with shame or embarrassment. So it still is very uncomfortable for some people, and they don't immediately want to come and embrace everything that we're doing. So they have to learn to trust us and understand what we're all about. But recognizing that they may pay attention if they hear about it from somebody they already know and trust. So a doctor, a midwife, a doula, a childbirth educator, whoever that may be. So it was in our best interest to align with those people and get them on board, because then they can reach more people. And then we also recognize that, like when we started Bellies Inc., it was really to design that product, which we did. But as we were going through that process of designing it and creating it, we had our colleagues, who are many of them fitness and health professionals, coming to us saying, how did you learn? Where do you learn? What can you teach me? And that then became the education side of our business. It wasn't, again, it's by accident. We didn't have any clue about that when we started the business. And all of a sudden now we have, that's half of our business is education. And we teach and certify other fitness professionals in what we're doing, again, because now they go out and have their clients, and the reach is much bigger when we work as a team and we integrate and we collaborate, rather than us just hanging on and trying to do it one person.
Yeah. Amazing. That's really such good advice. And I am definitely all for collaborating and building those relationships with colleagues that serve the same type of clientele, but don't necessarily have overlapping experiences or expertise, I should say. Carrie saying, I've struggled with getting people's attention because I talk mindset and the importance for my mama runners to reconnect to their core and pelvic core. But my people only want weight loss. Since making that shift and focusing on what these women want, weight loss and running faster and longer, my business has been picking up big time, but my programs haven't changed. It's so true.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you can, sometimes it might, like, as you say, you have an ultimate mission as to what you want to say, and they weren't buying into what you were saying. You can still tell them the exact same information. You're just messaging it differently to get them in. So you're weaving in the core and the pelvic floor or whatever it is, but you have found the message that I'm talking to that person that just made the comment. She's talking now to her clients in a way that they're getting what they want. And because a lot of people don't want to admit that they want to, or they need somebody to teach them about their pelvic floor.
Right.
That's another thing I noticed at the beginning of my business too. It was interesting, because if I was in a very, like at trade shows or what have you, people would be like, they'd walk by and they'd be like, oh, I'm okay. I'm good. I'm good. Like not people, especially in a public realm like that, they'd be like, no, not really that, I'm fine. And then, you know, secretly after I just met you at the and that's fine. But not everybody wants to own that right away. So just weave that messaging into your programs another way and give them what they want.
Yeah, I think it's so important, especially for regardless of, I guess, whether you're a vagina coach or whatever you are, I think at the end of the day, it's our job to figure out what languaging or client, I'm going to use a marketing word like client attraction strategies we can put out to get them to pay attention.
Yeah.
Right. That's our job.
Yeah.
Right. It's our job as the professionals to figure it out. Like, what words can I use and what can I call myself and what do I need to say in order to get the person that I want to work with attention so that I can tell them what's really going on.
Yeah. Yeah. And I wouldn't say that I have that 100% figured out still, and I probably never will. And it probably will still change along the way as things evolve as well. So I try different things. I learn something new. I say things a little bit differently here and there. I think it will always be that way in some regards. So there's probably going to be, every once in a while, there's one video I've posted or one phrase that I've used that resonates and gets shared. And then that becomes key messaging. And you know what I mean? It's just like building that along the way. So
it really is. People are like, can you just tell me how to do it? I'm like, trial and error, baby, trial and error.
Yeah. I was one of those people too. I'm like, I just want to know what's the magic phrase? How am I going to do this? And yeah, now I kind of just trust that it'll happen along the way. And yeah,
amazing. Thank you so much for this. This was, first of all, so fun to say the word vagina like 20 times in 30 minutes. Cause that's so fun to say. And where can people go? Just say your website again. Where can people go to find you?
So my personal business is vaginacoach.com. And my other partnership that I have with the other two women is called belliesinc.com. And both of those businesses were on Instagram and Facebook as Vagina Coach and Bellies Inc. So those are probably the most common places to find us. And thank you very much. I really appreciate being
here. This was awesome. And thanks everybody for watching, and you can go and follow Kim. And if you're interested in pelvic floor certification and information, you can go to belliesinc.com and look at all of their training that they have and their certifications. And otherwise, thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much, Kim, again for the time, and we'll talk to everybody real soon.
Thank you very much.